that exhibit, I'm surrounded by a lot of knowledge and years of experience, which is super cool. And they just want everybody to do well. So, and I've felt that every brewery I've been at, which is awesome. But now having I feel like I have a solid foundation to go from here, which is awesome. So.
And that was Kenzie, Pinkwood Scholarship winner and brewer at Exhibit A on this week's episode of Brew Roots.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Brew Roots, where we tell the stories behind your favorite beer. This is Sound Guy Ryan, and joining me as always is Matt and Erica.
What up, everyone out there in podcast land?
Hello.
We certainly have an awesome episode for you this week, but I did want to give a shout out to Ryan from Angry Orchard for doing the episode last week.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
I hope you guys all enjoyed that. Something different.
Yeah.
You know?
And self-admittingly, was not the biggest Angry Orchard fan, and then I had Crisp again this weekend.
Right.
For the first time in a while.
Yeah.
It was good.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. I've kind of gone back to them a little bit.
Yeah. And the thing it's funny when we were listening to the interview and Ryan mentioned that he's like, yeah, we might be, one of the more recognizable names in cider. Cider's still 1% of the craft,
it's nothing.
So it's like being that really cool band, but only 500 people know about you.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But still, Angry Orchard.
Really cool.
Really cool. Thank you, Ryan, again for doing that. And, yeah, I love that, and we had a lot of listeners, so I think our listeners enjoyed it as well. But I guess you kind of know what I drank this weekend, but Erica and Ryan, what else did you guys drink?
I've been drinking Mighty Squirrel Dear Mary.
Really?
Oh.
Yes.
Tell us about that one.
It's really good. I want to say it's 7.2%.
Solid.
I believe it's a New England IPA of sorts. I think it might even be a double. Hold on, let me try to find it. Yes, double single hopped Nelson New England IPA.
Wow.
It's
Nice.
very good.
Nice.
Hey, JP, how are you?
Yeah.
Yo. That's cool. I've been having, a mix of things.
Checking your extensive Untapped account right now.
Yes.
God, how I
So
hate Untapped.
extensive. I know, but it is a great way to track all the delicious beers you drink when you're like me and you just forget things day to day.
Yeah.
So I had actually Trader Joe's kind of does their own beer thing. They partner with different breweries. And
I've been wanting to try that.
yeah, so they have a bourbon barrel-aged Columbia Supremo out right now. And they partnered with Hardwood Park Craft Brewery. And it was delicious.
Huh.
Yeah, it was really smooth, well-balanced, great coffee nose, bourbon flavor, but it didn't burn. It was a nice warming, flavor for sure. But it wasn't oh God, this has been barrel aged and I'm dying. Ah!
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, no, it was really good. And then on a completely other spectrum, I had an amazing farmhouse saison from Blackberry Farm Brewery today called Classic.
Classic.
It was
Classic?
classic.
No, that's, yeah.
It was really good. You could find that at the Craft Beer Cellar.
Cool.
Yeah.
I got to try Night Shift's hard tea.
I have had that. That is really good.
It's really
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
Someone who admittingly loves not Mike's Hard, Twisted Tea. I love Twisted Tea. This was great. This was green tea and citrus.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was really good. And and admittingly, I did not have it at perfect temperature, refrigerator cold. I had it in the refrigerator maybe for an hour.
Yeah.
And it was still really good, but cold is perfect.
Yeah,
it's a sweet spot.
I don't know
for
if it's
that.
the same version or not, but I had one over the summer, and it was amazing. It was this is a great summer drink.
Yeah, and I hadn't heard about it until then.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed it thoroughly. And then I had the honey. It's not Honeywell, but the honey IPA that our friends over at Widowmaker make. And I love their can art for that one. It's the white can. It's got the gold honeycombs on it into their logo. Again, I will say it, I am such a sucker for branding. So if your can art has dope branding,
Your marketing is on point.
I love,
fine.
I love. This is going to segue into our next subject. I love Neil Gilded Skull's art.
Oh, yeah.
And he has by far some of the best IPAs in
For
my
sure.
opinion. But I mean, if I didn't know anything about Neil, his story or anything like that, I would grab his IPAs off the shelf just purely based upon how they stand out.
For sure.
In saying that, congratulations. He has been nominated to be one of the
the best new brewery
in the country.
But nominated, so you can vote every day.
Yes.
I think that's...
It's live now.
It's live now.
Yeah, I did it last night.
What it is. I check his Facebook or his
USA
Instagram.
Today.
Thank you.
Yes,
I knew it was one of those ones. I was going to say CNN for some weird reason.
No, not that.
Nope. Yeah, it's all over our social. We've shared it as well. So definitely take a look and vote every day if you can.
And a fun fact, you can vote from multiple computers because they only track IP addresses.
Are you telling people to cheat, Matt?
I'm not telling people to cheat. I'm just saying that I know specifically that certain breweries did that last year.
Yeah, so support.
It's fair game. And you know what? I endorse Neil on this one.
Yeah,
and Gilded Skull
definitely.
because I think they are the only Massachusetts brewery on this list.
They are. And if you don't know his story...
Listen to our episode.
Go back on our little doobly-doo.
Yeah.
And find it.
So we're going to post a link to that USA Today. You can vote once a day, and I guess you can vote more if you have more than one smart device or computer or iPad. And not that I did that at 12 o'clock last night and then 12:01 last night. But hey, you know.
Do what you got to do.
Go Gilded Skull.
Yeah.
And support Mass Beer because you know what? We want to be on that. Last year we had Vitamin C and Panel Marker, and that was awesome.
They actually have a couple other lists going, which that's what I do. I just got distracted and scrolled through all of their lists. They have Best Beer City. Boston's on there, and Portland, Maine is on there. And then they had like a small town one with like Portsmouth, New Hampshire's on there.
That's awesome.
And then they had Best Beer Can Art, and Vitamin C was on there. So
well, they clearly did not see Neil's.
Yeah, didn't see Neil's can art for
not that Vitamin C doesn't have like awesome.
Right.
Yeah.
I think he actually won that last year. I think if you go back, I'm pretty sure. But either way, so go through, check out all the other awards they're doing because there's some awesome New England representation going on.
And that kind of goes back to our episode with Wormtown when we talked about Massachusetts being the best beer scene. I mean, Boston really is. I mean, I think when they say Boston, it really is encompassing all of Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to be like, Peabody, Massachusetts or Salem, Massachusetts has like the best beer scene.
Right.
I think when they say Boston, I'm saying this, but I think Massachusetts has the best beer scene. I've said it multiple times. I love Portland, Maine.
Right now.
I love Portland, Maine. I think they have some of the best breweries in a half a mile.
Solid, yes.
in a let's say
you want to talk strictly cities.
In a 20-mile radius. Yeah, in a
right.
city atmosphere, Portland, Maine has the best breweries.
You could play catch between like 4 or 5 of them.
Exactly. And if you're Tom Brady, you could probably throw it the whole length of the street.
Right.
But I would say Maine has excellent breweries as well. But from point to point, Massachusetts has breweries all over.
I mean, we go state to state, right?
Notch to Treehouse to Widowmaker to
Bright Ideas.
I mean, there's so many good breweries in Massachusetts. And when you think of a city, yes, Portland, Maine, I would agree.
Yeah, totally.
But
I'm
probably gonna get flack for that from Massachusetts people. Cool. But you know, what do you think, Ryan?
I have no opinion.
All right, cool.
I think they're both amazing towns in their own because I think, or states, or just states. Yeah. I think they're unique. You know, I think each state has kind of their voice and what they like to do. You know, you can definitely taste a beer from like Portland, Maine, and you can be like, yeah, you know, that's kind of like a Portland kind of taste.
It's a vibe.
Yeah. And same thing with a lot of the Massachusetts beers, especially from region to region, you know.
Agree. Yeah.
And, you know, I'm sure that water has something to do with it, but, you know, you get what I'm saying.
Which is a perfect segue is Brewers is trying to get 50 states.
You bet
episodes.
we are.
So, you know, we're at, I think, 12, 13, 14, whatever. Who's counting? But you know what? We have done a terrible job of representing New England as a whole. You know, we have not gotten Rhode Island, and we have not gotten Connecticut.
We're missing a couple states still.
Yeah, and we're going to get them.
We're working on that now. We're actively working on that.
If any of our Brewers listeners out there want to, or want us to interview a Rhode Island brewery or a Connecticut brewery specifically, DM us on Instagram.
Yeah.
You can find us at Brewers on every social media.
All of them.
But we are most active on Instagram.
It's true.
Also, we are very active on Patreon.
Yeah, so you should find us there.
Yes. Brewers Podcast. Patreon.com, Brewers Podcast. because I can't remember the password for the Brewers one. So, yeah.
Yeah, so finally we got some cool stuff there.
We do.
Glassware, merch.
Yeah. Beer merch. We don't have our own glassware yet.
No.
There's been so many requests. Trust me.
We've
our
talked
fans,
about it. It's eventually going to come. Promise.
Absolutely. But yeah, I'm so excited for this week because we talked with Kenzie, and this was one of my recently favorite episodes just because I love hearing people's journeys from like, they took a whim at working at a brewery and then like, boom, you're a brewer.
Yeah.
Like, this is awesome.
Yeah. And huge shout out to Pink Boots for helping her along her way. It's a really awesome story, and it was really great talking to her. It was cool.
Yeah. And we found someone who has almost as thick of a Boston accent as Ryan.
Almost, really close.
Yeah, it's close. Ryan, who has you beat? Do you think she has you beat?
I think we're tied.
I think you're tied.
Okay.
I wish you said something like, "Nah, we're not."
Nah, kid.
Nah.
Yeah. Well,
All right, Ryan.
we're gonna get to the episode because we have some awesome things in the outro.
episode. Yeah.
And the outro too for you. Ryan,
The
has
outros
some-
are always fun.
Yeah.
So, even if you just skip ahead, just take a listen.
Don't skip ahead.
No, don't skip ahead. But I'm just saying, if like you've listened to it or like you want to go back and listen to some of our old outros,
Yeah.
they're fun.
We have celebrities sometimes.
We do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Until next week.
Cheers.
Cheers. All right. Well, we've had quite the evening.
The best evening.
I mean, not quite Ryan getting lost in the wood or stuck in the woods.
No, not quite, but close.
Another one for the history book.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're here with an awesome guest tonight.
We are.
This one has been months in the making.
Literally months
Months in the
yes.
making. And it's more on our part because we have terrible schedules that we're less flexible than some of our guests sometimes.
Yeah, it's just been one thing after another.
Yeah. But I've been excited to do this because every week we mention Pink Boots.
Yeah.
And
you guys all know Pink Boots.
Sometimes we talk about scholarships, and
Yeah.
you know that you got a scholarship.
I did.
Someone said that you got a scholarship and they were pissed that you got a scholarship.
I don't remember that.
Oh, I remember.
Oh, weird.
Remember that Twitter battle?
Oh, the Twitter battle. That was a good one.
That was funny.
Yeah.
But
Anyways.
yeah,
Cool.
next subject.
Next time.
But nobody said that this person didn't deserve this.
No,
this
I don't think
scholarship.
so. I don't think there are any Twitter battles over
Yeah.
it.
But,
Not yet.
Not yet. But yeah, we're here with Kenzie from Exhibit A.
All right.
That's right.
Yeah. Thank you for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
Anytime.
And Kenzie, so I don't butcher it, please tell our listeners what scholarship you were awarded.
It's a mouthful. So it was the Concise Course in World Brewing through Pink Boots, and it's taught by Siebel. It's a 3-month concise online course.
That's awesome.
And before we get too much into that, because I definitely want to divulge into every word that you said, because
Everywhere.
I want to understand what that scholarship actually means.
Yes.
Sure.
We ask every guest here your role at the brewery that you work at and your first memory of beer.
Let's see. So I am a brewer at Exhibit A. I, spend a lot of time on the production team doing packaging, some cellaring as well. My first memory of beer, my first full memory, probably I lived in Portland, Maine for a while. So I grew up in college. Well, I didn't grow up in college. I was in college there. And I remember going to concerts at this place called State Theater and seeing Base Nectar, actually, and them having Allagash on tap and being like, okay, this is cool. I don't really know what's going on, but this is cool. So, and then I kind of took a love for it there because Portland was a great place to turn 21.
For sure.
Oh, I'm
for sure.
There's
Best place,
so many great
probably.
breweries.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Totally.
So you said you went to college up in Maine. Based upon your Boston accent, did you grow up in Maine? I'm guessing no.
No. I grew up in Lynn.
Okay, cool.
I'm a North Shore girl. I live in Dorchester now. So I grew up there, and then I went to Salem State my freshman year.
Yeah.
And then I went sophomore year to senior year up at University of Southern Maine.
Nice.
Very cool.
What did you study?
The original plan, if you will.
Yeah, what's the original plan?
Yes, yeah. Well, I wanted to do nursing, which obviously didn't pan
I think
out.
we all did. I don't know about you, but I also went for nursing.
Right? I was like, oh my God, I'd love this. And then I was
Right.
like, oh no, I don't know how do people do
Not
this?
at
Like,
all.
actually, all my roommates are, including my boyfriend, are in healthcare. And I'm like, God
Good
bless.
for
Like, here's
them.
some beer to get you through.
Right.
But I studied health science. I
Okay.
ended up, because I was on that kind of biology, sciencey route. So I kind of just finished with that. So it was good. It was the easier route. Definitely that way. So totally.
How did craft beer find you? I guess I don't want to say how did you fall into craft beer, but how did craft beer and Kenzie meet?
Well, so actually I was working at Lynn City Hall in charge of a grant, and also part-time at Bentwater right after I left college. And when I say graduated, I actually still have 2 classes left. So I asked my guy friends at Bentwater if they needed help in the lab, just because I got along. I just basically bartended there. I was like, maybe I can get some college credits out of helping in the lab. And they're like, oh, sure, whatever. So the college credits didn't pan out, but the whole lab experience did. And that's kind of how I got into it.
That's cool.
So the bartending was a great start. But then my schedule at City Hall was flexible. So I would kind of just show up to the lab when I could. And it was just like menial tasks, like ATP swabs, stuff like that. Nothing crazy. But that I was like, oh, cool. Like, I feel like I could use my degree, or my kind of degree.
Right.
So that's kind of how it found me. And then I went from there. And I knew the grant had an end to it at some point. So I'm like, all right, what do I want to do? And that's kind of how I fell into it. So.
Nice.
That's awesome. So did you stay at Bentwater from there, or how did you go from Bentwater to Exhibit A?
So I was at Bentwater from 2017 to 2019-ish. Bartending and like helping here and there in the lab. And then the whole grant thing, I don't think I was ever made to sit at a desk. I'm like pretty active. Like I like to hike and snowboard and stuff like that. So I knew someone that was saying Mighty Squirrel was looking for interns. So because my City Hall schedule was flexible, I was actually able to do both, be an intern at Squirrel while also working City Hall. So it was really long weeks, like 60, 70-hour weeks sometimes. But both jobs were very flexible because I was intern there, which was awesome. They were really like understanding that I had other commitments, and then City Hall kind of knew that time was running out, on that grant. So that kind of deal. So from then on, 2019 summer is when I started at Harpoon, like my first full-time packaging gig. And then so it was awesome. And I was really excited. I'm like, okay, cool. So I can finally make a transition and not have to work 1,700 jobs. And then that's how I ended up at Exhibit. After my year-ish at Harpoon, Exhibit was hiring and I applied there. So that's kind of where I am now. Yeah.
Did you find Pink Boots early in your brewing career, or was that something you found later into it?
Probably in the middle, I would say. I kind of spent like a year at Bentwater being like, which was shame on me for having this view of it as like, I'm bartending. I don't know if I have as much to add, kind of, because that kind of deal. And then about like a year, I'm like, you know what, like this is really cool. And I have an interest in it. I might as well, because there's people I didn't realize at first how widespread Pink Boots was, that it wasn't just brewers and cellar men, women, that kind of like production. It was everything, marketing, that. So probably in like 2018. So I've been a member for about 2.5 years.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And what keeps you going? Obviously, I'm not a Pink Boots member. Erica being a Pink Boots member, so she's always telling me about it. I'm jealous. But, and I wish I could go. Well, I can, I guess. But what keeps you going to these Pink Boots meetings? What's the camaraderie like, and kind of getting together with like-minded people?
It's super supportive. Even on this newer meeting last week, the new leader just did a great job, and you could tell everyone was super supportive of just wanting it to go the right way, and just like, what can I do to help? What can I, and having a shared experience is just so important, to be like, there's a whole group of people, whether it be everyone in Massachusetts or just throughout the country or countries, where I'm sure if there's a unique situation you're going through, someone else has been through it. Something what feels like unique, where you can reach out, learn. Like I know I've helped on the education committee a little bit for Pink Boots. Starting at exhibit, I was like, my learning really took off there, so I kind of like wasn't as involved in the education committee. But Sue, she works at Crohn's over there, so even like how diverse the jobs are in Pink Boots and how much you can learn. So just that kind of keeps me going, and also trying to, peg people like I was in the beginning and be like, come on, join,
Join, definitely, all the time.
It's worth it. Yeah, totally.
I always find it interesting when somebody joins the industry early in their careers, education-wise. Obviously, you didn't go to Siebel, you didn't go to UC Davis to learn your craft. Totally. How instrumental has, a group like Pink Boots been, and your peers just, teaching you what you know, and do you read any books to kind of help you with that too, or forums or anything?
Yeah, no, I mean, so I'm a big podcast and video learner. I'm really trying to nail down the reading as well. But when I'm reading a book, I kind of like to watch videos on it as well, because it really reinforces it for me.
For sure.
But Pink Boots has been super instrumental in me learning, just feeling, like I said, like a sense of camaraderie of there's someone for everything I might want to learn from, which is awesome. But even from Bentwater to Mighty Squirrel, I've always been encouraged. I would say that my learning has been because of the short time I've spent at each place. Like Bentwater was bartending, which was great. So I started to learn about beer and what I liked and different styles, which was great. Mighty Squirrel, I kind of just got my feet wet in packaging, that kind of deal. And Harpoon actually ended up being a lot of beer knowledge, but a lot of mechanical kind of, working on the machines, that kind of deal. So going to exhibit, having a small group, I felt super supportive, and I've kind of been able to finally like hone in on like cellaring skills and learning that kind of stuff, and taking my like small bits of learning and finally like having it come full circle, and really see, but having exhibit, I'm surrounded by a lot of knowledge and years of experience, which is super cool. And they just want everybody to do well. So, and I've felt that every brewery I've been at, which is awesome. But now having I feel like I have a solid foundation to go from here, which is awesome. So
that's super helpful.
Right.
You being in kind of a unique position where you worked mostly as a part-time employee, did you find that your education kind of wasn't as good as it could have been if you were full-time, or did you, how does someone in your situation previously kind of make the most of their situation, with limited time?
Totally. Yeah. I mean, I don't think I realized how the part-time really helped and didn't help all at the same time. I'm so glad I took the plunge and took the job at Harpoon, but I wish I did it sooner. I wish I kind of was just okay, I know I want to do this. I don't know what's holding me back. Right. Because I would have had probably the extra year, but I'm still young, I'm glad I took the plunge. And I would say for anybody that's thinking about doing it, just do it and start reading the books earlier, and don't be afraid to try. And it's worth it, because the sooner you start, the more, and there's so many cool resources out there to learn online. So
absolutely. All right. Before we get into too much further, I do have a quick message from our sponsors. So take it away, sound guy Ryan.
Did you know that your favorite Massachusetts breweries use hops from a local family-owned hop farm right here in Massachusetts?
Our friends over at 4 Star Farms are there for you whether you're a commercial brewery or a small batch home brewer.
Make sure to head over to their website today and get your hands on some of the best and freshest hops available locally. Cheers.
At our local homebrew shop, Beer and Wine Hobby, you can get everything you need to make beer, wine, cider, cheese, and more. Not sure where to start? They have knowledgeable staff there to help. Beer and Wine Hobby is family-owned and located in Danvers, Massachusetts. Visit their website, beer-wine.com, and use our promo code BREWROOTS for 10% off your online order today.
Shirts on Tap is the box subscription service where you can get some of the dopest brewery t-shirts out there. I'm talking breweries from Dallas, San Diego, and even our home area of New England. And you might ask, how do I get my hands on some? To get your first box for $5, click the link below in our description, or head on over to our website, breweroots.com. Remember, drink better beer, wear better shirts.
All right, and we are back. I always find it fascinating when someone, works at a Harpoon, works at a Sam Adams, works at these bigger, even Wachusett's bigger breweries.
That have been around for ever.
Yeah, and you worked in packaging, and a lot of times people have a misconception of what packaging is. It's you're putting the liquid into the beer, and there's quality control that goes into that, and it's important for that beer that goes into a bottle, that goes into a can, they taste the same. Obviously Harpoon has that down to a science. I'm sure you learned a ton from them. Talk about that experience, working at a bigger brewery, and not to say that Exhibit's small, but I mean, certainly it's smaller scale than Harpoon.
Sure. Yeah. So at Harpoon, I kind of went in just having a little bit of knowledge from Mighty Squirrel packaging there, which was cool. But Harpoon is a different beast. We're contract brewing, we're contract packaging, we're stuff like that. So I kind of started, we have 2 floors packaging. So I started on the bottom floor, which is where once the cans come down, they're getting put into the tray packer, they're getting pack tech. So learning like the pack tech machine, how to troubleshoot that, stuff like that, certain wraps that are going around the 12 packs versus 24 packs. Even by the time to close, when I was on the way out, we were starting to package 19.2s. So that's like coming down with the lowerator where the cans are just so top heavy. They're just like boom, 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 just, all falling, figuring that out. So there's more mechanics than I was expecting to learn. And then about halfway in, I started to move upstairs to learn how to run the filler, which was great. It's a 32 fill head system. So a lot of like different quality stuff comes with that. Even the smallest thing is like a nicked gasket or something like that can cause a whole hours of delays, which is crazy. So, and the difference I would say is you have to have that really good communication with the seller to make sure DOs and CO2 and all that. I mean, we had the CDGM machine up there to check those for Harpoon, but to make sure to see if there's a delay in the cellar, is it going to take longer for packaging? Do we need to switch out the raw goods to keep the day moving? Because Harpoon was 2 shifts. It was 2 shifts for packaging. It was 5 a.m. to 1 and then 1 to 9. But 9 was kind of till everything was done and wrapped up.
That must have been the worst shift.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So sometimes I was there till 4 a.m. Not often, but we had a great boss who would try to make it
needs of the business almost, right?
3 shifts instead. Yeah.
Right.
But then the flip side to that is having our smaller team at Exhibit now is like, you get to see the beer from start to finish. Yeah. So the communication from the brewer who's 3 feet away to, I know I transferred this and I know that I'm learning to carb beers, like that I carbed it, stuff like that. So the questions of quality are like, it's like sometimes a little bit easier to get to the root of the issue because you got to see it through.
Right.
Whereas it's like, with Harpoon, like we had great communication. It was a great team, but it's still that kind of like delay of like, okay, like it's such a big place. So
I want to know about the scholarship. So we're here to know about the scholarship. So tell us more.
Yeah. So, I mean, it started last May, if I remember, because like I was saying, all the times blending in. It was a 2.5 month, 3 month scholarship. So actually at the time I wasn't working at Harpoon just because of the pandemic and all that stuff. But it basically just covers the whole brewing process from start to finish. Brewing history, best practices, quality, packaging, cellaring, anything you can really think of. So the best part, honestly, is that I got to really dive into stuff I wasn't expecting and got a lot of knowledge. Yeah, and the quality stuff really interests me. I'm still just getting my feet wet. I'd love to work in the lab someday full time and do stuff like that and brew as well. But this was a great resource to kind of get that started and really see what I'm interested in, as well as the fact that I still have all that information. So now, when when I took the course, I actually wasn't working, like I said. So now that I'm kind of like
apply all that, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So like it was a little bit tough just in that aspect, but now that I'm full-time doing all the stuff that I was learning, I'm really excited to kind of go back and re-review that information as well and be like, okay, like I read about this before, but now I'm actually doing it. So
right.
it's helpful, and I can apply these concepts and stuff of that nature. So
it's a concise course of the entire process of brewing, making beer.
Basically. Yeah. Yep. It dives into like malting, different hops, where they're from, different regions.
That's awesome.
You know, different countries, stuff like that. So it really is like for someone who doesn't know what they're interested in, what part of the brewing world or brewing process, is a great course to take, because it's like, okay, because there's some stuff, you know, that I was happy to learn that isn't, you know, my top priority learning, right? But like it still is good to know. But then there's other stuff that I'm like, oh, you know, that's great to know. And I'd like to, mostly like quality kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That I'd love to dive into, and the whole packaging process. And it's also interesting to see, like, there's a lot, it's, I believe, based on German practices for the most part. You know, they talk about American practices as well, but even just like the 4 vessel systems versus like the 2 or 3,
barrel,
you know,
system or whatever
in the States. So just like going through those and learning and stuff like that. So.
That's cool. And so you said kind of the QC, QA topics were your favorite? Yeah.
I'm interested in that.
Yeah.
Stuff,
so let's delve into that. What is that exactly? What did you guys learn about?
You know, it was interesting to apply the QA, QC to packaging, and just like where things can go wrong in the least likely places, especially like if you, you know, this was before I was at exhibit. So if you flash back to Harpoon, it was like I was saying, you know, you have a 2-floor packaging line. There's so many places where things can deviate from the original plan, and, you know, talking to the lab, and was this actually a cellar issue, or, you know, how did this get here? And it can be the smallest thing, you know, so it's just taking those big picture and trying to put the puzzle pieces together. That stuff really interests me. So
yeah, that's cool.
Any bits of knowledge that you learned that you were like, I have never done that in my career, and I probably should have been doing this?
You know what? Nothing super specific, but just how much they dove into the details of that, you know, like surface level. I understand what's going on and the best practices, but just how specific, if you take one, you could go throughout the brewery and apply this to probably every single process, how you can go dive in so deep to each process. And that's kind of what it did. The class is like, there, like I was saying before, I was like, there are a lot of things that I'd like to go look at and go back and learn, but there are some things that I really want to nail down, and just kind of like how other places do them. And that's what I kind of went through. And as broad as that statement sounds, that's exactly how the class was. So,
That's cool. Like you were saying, it's interesting. It kind of exposes you to a lot of different topics that then you can dive into on your own or whatever.
Totally. Yep.
Did the course change your career trajectory, do you think, in your mind?
I think it just solidified more that I was doing what I wanted to keep doing, and that when I applied for the scholarship, I kind of had like a timeline outlined for myself to, you know, leave packaging, and I still do packaging now, but, you know, start to learn cellar and eventually brew. And this was really a good kickstart for that, to kind of keep me going.
Right. Yeah.
Kind of keep learning, and really feel like there are, because, you know, I hate using the phrase get stuck in packaging, because it's so important. It's so important. And I've learned so much, and I'm still learning so much, but you don't usually just jump right from packaging to brewing. You know what I mean? There are so many steps in between. Yeah. Exactly. There's so many steps in between. And it's been really, really cool to be able to, I want to learn all those steps, and I want to follow them through, because I listen to people who have been brewing for years who know all those steps, and it just makes you a better brewer, in my opinion.
For sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of gives you that credibility, I think, just to say, you know, I was in your spot. I know exactly what you're going through.
Yeah. Totally. And like, I know some people that I've talked to, just like going to school is awesome, but having the experience is really like, and then school on top of it is great.
Super important. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Speaking of that, have you signed up for any courses since taking the Siebel one, or?
No, not yet. I am trying to finish those 2 college courses, which is awesome. One is physics, so that will help with brewing.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
I've been reading the yeast, malt, water
Good for
hop
you.
series. Yeah, so I'm trying to dive into that and
That's awesome.
take advantage like of some of the White Labs videos on their YouTube
Yeah.
channel
Yeah,
and
they're
stuff
great.
like that, which is and because Chris White is one of the people that wrote the yeast book.
Yeah.
So it's super helpful, like I was saying at the beginning, just to kind of follow along.
Definitely.
Yeah.
That's a good tip, actually. Check out White Labs YouTube
Yeah,
channel, I
seriously,
guess.
yeah.
I have to go check that out when I get
Yeah,
home.
they have a lot of cool stuff for home brewers too.
Yeah.
So
Oh, I'm glad you
Yeah, a little
segued into
little
my next
tip
subject.
there, yeah.
Are you homebrewing at all, or you doing all the brewing at Exhibit?
So yeah, I haven't jumped on the brew house at Exhibit quite yet, but I am actually just looking into starting to learn how to recipe write at my house. So I do have like a little 1-gallon Northern Brewer kit that I'm hoping to start learning on.
Awesome.
Classic apartment size
Yeah.
brewing kit.
Just don't do it on your
But,
stovetop.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
You're fine.
Yeah. So yeah, I live with people who are interested in also learning, which is great.
Oh,
So,
cool.
yeah.
You can have like a little session. You could teach them.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah.
Can you give us a sneak peek? What's Exhibit doing for your Pink Flute beer?
We are still concepting.
Oh,
That
you
is
are?
for sure. Yep. We are
That's
still
cool, yeah.
concepting. So a couple ideas in the works. It's awesome to have 3 ladies, including myself,
yeah.
to concept with, which is great. But I know we're really excited.
Yeah.
So that will be coming up because I know March 8th, if I'm not mistaken, is
I think-
International Women's Day.
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
So I think we're hoping to time something with that, but I know there's a couple different plans in the works. So
All right. So before we get into too much more with Kenzie, I do want to just give a quick shout out to our amazing sponsors.
Amazing sponsors.
Take it away, Ryan.
Are you a solo artist, band, podcaster, or anyone else who needs recording services?
Well, we got a place for you where your vision can become a reality.
Welcome to Small Pond Studios, built by hand with heart and sweat equity by musicians for musicians.
Go to smallpondstudios.io to reach out to get more information. And make sure you let them know that Brute sent you. Hey, Sound Guy Ryan here. Didn't know if you heard, but we're a part of the Hopped Up Network. There you'll find other informative podcasts about beer. So go ahead, follow them on social media, and visit them on their website, hoppedupnetwork.com, to learn more about the people, beer, and breweries from around the country. And until next time, thanks for listening. Cheers.
All right. Well, in the words of fucking Ryan, we're back.
Fucking Ryan, kid.
Fucking right, boy.
So we were just talking off air about, you working at an exhibit, and, when we interviewed Matt and Kelsey, they had not an initiative, but diversity in the brew house was important to them.
Yeah.
You mentioned off air that it's the staff is 50-50 male and female ratio.
yeah,
That's awesome.
I think we just brought on Carl, who is our packaging specialist. So it was 50-50, but it's very close at this point. It still might be, I don't know exactly. Yeah, we have a
49,
great
51.
team.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Real close.
yeah, exactly. It's nothing crazy off bringing one person on. So yeah, we have a great team. And I think, Matt and Kelsey mentioning that before when you guys spoke to them, I really believe that they mean that because it really shows, you know, in the back in the production team.
Yeah.
This is my 4th brewery working at, and this is the most women I've worked with. I mean, at
That's amazing.
Harpoon, I was very welcome and very supported and encouraged, but I was in Boston in production, the only female until close to the end where there was a female working in the lab.
Yeah.
And then Katie, who was the yeast lead for Harpoon up in Vermont, she ran the lab up there. She was amazing, but we didn't work, she was in Vermont.
They really
so
work
we
together,
didn't
yeah.
work as close together, yeah. So Exhibit does a great job, and it's nice to have that camaraderie,
Yeah.
For sure.
Something that's important also, to my knowledge, at Exhibit is sustainability. Have you learned a ton about being sustainable with, your packaging there?
Oh, totally. Yep. It's been awesome. They do a great job. We're really, really try to have local ingredients, which is awesome. We really work with Valley Malt a lot, stuff like that. So sustainable and packaging as well. We do a really good job with our multiple runs a week, just really trying to make it the best we can. And we've really, even from the time I started to now, just the improvements we've made on the packaging line, and Colleen's really jumped on stuff like that. Us tweaking the pack tech, and me having a little bit of experience from that, like you said, with Harpoon, bringing that over, which is great. And really kind of honing that in. Everyone still has their issues, but like classic, right?
Yeah.
But to even see now I've been there 7-ish months, 6.5, 7 months, the improvements and it started good to begin with,
Yeah.
It's been great. So
Yeah, that's awesome to hear.
That's good.
I always kind of wonder what it's like just to, start a brewery and then see what it is like 7 months later, 6 months later. And it sounds like your journey's just been awesome. I'm jealous.
Skyrocketing.
I'm jealous.
it's been great. Yeah, it's been great. I'm just in general, brewing aside, I really like to just learn new things. So it's been great to just kind of be in an environment with a ton of knowledge, and it's encouraged to ask questions. No one's like, why, it's like, I want to know more, and I want to become a better brewer, and I want, stuff like that, and having different backgrounds too, So 10 years of experience somewhere, 5 years, like different places.
Right,
so it's great. And I think, I had a little bit of a different packaging background, like we talked about, from the bigger scale, which brings a lot of help. It also is different from a smaller, the issues are different.
Translate.
But I think that's definitely something that was good to have added to the team. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Can we talk about the Pink Boots network as a whole? Obviously,
Sure.
I follow the Pink Boots Facebook page, and I see so many great opportunities for women in the industry. We've seen people posting jobs, for Mike Squirrel, for Lord Hobo, what have you or not.
Yeah.
But it's also been a great community just for you guys to, it seems, to bounce ideas off of each other. I mean, I don't see those private conversations, but I'm sure.
And now Pink Boots has their own community online, like their own Facebook page, I guess, for
like a forum,
kind of.
Forum.
Yeah.
Have you been able to learn from those forums and kind of communicate and just build a sense of community around it?
Totally. Yeah. I mean, it can be from anything like due to how do you troubleshoot your pack tech, or, how do you deal with these quality issues, to anything of like, hey, do you like these overalls? It's just kind of it's a great place to find some commonality amongst, and the overall thing really helped me because I was looking for some good overalls and I found some, which was awesome.
Awesome.
but on the learning side too, even what book should I read next? Which videos should I watch, and stuff like that. It's just been really helpful. And there's been times, and the cool part is, like, I really enjoy, pandemic aside, traveling, and you can kind of post in there like, hey, I'm headed to insert wherever. Where should I visit? Where is there anywhere I could go and kind of learn and take a tour, stuff like that. So, and people are really welcoming and want to have you for
or just
a beer,
meet
which
other
is really
women
cool
in the Pink Boots community somewhere.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
I'm curious about the timeline of you getting awarded this scholarship. My understanding is you were awarded it pre-COVID. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So it's the expectation you were going to be flown out to Siebel in Chicago, or?
No, so it was always online, which is
cool.
Awesome. Yeah. So, I mean, eventually that would be really, really cool to have that happen. So I got awarded it in end of December of 2019, it must have been, into 2020. There were like two options, the May to July, and I think it was like a September to November kind of thing, which was great. And I chose just the sooner one, just to kind of jump on it. And then all the COVID kind of stuff kind of happened, but it worked out great because some of the scholarships had to get postponed and rescheduled, whereas I kind of still got to, learn and take control of that. Right.
That's awesome.
So that was great.
Oh, cool. So you didn't get let down that you didn't get to go.
No,
was always the expectation.
Yeah,
That's good.
yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Talk about the scholarship application process. Was it easy? And did you expect to win it? I mean, was it something that you were like, I definitely have this,
No. I mean, I was surprised just because I still was so new kind of in the industry at that point, which just because you're new doesn't mean you can't win a scholarship. But that was kind of my thinking, was like, okay, this is my first full-time job. Like, this would really help me probably in the future get to quicker, especially get to where I need to be. So I applied, and I kind of tried to make a point to like really stress like my timeline, which, was, they said one of the reasons that I got awarded it, just to say like, okay, in 2 years, I want to be in the cellar, and 3 years, these are my ways I want to get there. In 5 years,
goals.
I want,
So your goals was in like 6 months, I want to own my own mega brewery.
No,
or just like
no.
up in the air, like in 6 months, I might take a job somewhere else.
Yeah.
Right. I was like, oh yeah. 7 months,
That's
I'm gonna be in Vegas.
Right.
So that was kind of one of the ways in the scholarship process. Just questions kind of really showing like what you could do with it, not how you could further your career, and how you'd apply it to. And it worked out. So I ended up where I wanted to be. So
That's perfect. That's awesome news.
Yeah.
So I guess
Thank you.
it's fair to ask, are you you're on trajectory for where you want to go? But what's next for you? Are you 2 years still, you want to be in the cellar, 3 years, what's next?
I don't see myself leaving Exhibit anytime soon. I love it there.
Yay.
I can really, I love it there. It's a great place to be. I can really see myself growing there. I think with the opportunity of having the title of brewer, but also being able to do a little bit of everything, and hopefully eventually, jump on the brew house and start learning how to brew. But I'm not in a rush to do that, just because there's so much else that I want to learn before I get there. Yeah, totally. And I'm kind of where I wanted to be. The packaging was a great way to get started, but I knew it's not where I wanted to stay. And I'm okay. We still package, a couple times a week where I'm still on the line, but it gets evened out with getting to do some quality stuff and getting to do some cellaring and learning a new thing, how to put a spunding valve on and how to do this and how to, stuff like that.
That's
so
cool.
It's been really great. Yeah. So that's I just wanted to be in a learning rich environment, which in every brewery I was at, I felt that way, but especially now because it's a whole plethora of different things that I'm learning. So
that's awesome. Good news.
I'm interested on a personal note, just knowing you said you're getting into recipe development. What resources have you been using kind of learn that, other than obviously your coworkers who are excellent at that? I don't have access to them, but our listeners either. What resources for recipe development?
There's Designing Great Beer is a great book that you can jump into. I haven't jumped into it too much just because I'm trying to finish that series I was talking about first. Then the Encyclopedia of Beer is also awesome. It has just a little bit of everything. It's kind of like, I'm curious about this, and that's kind of how you can jump into it. But really, as simple as it sounds, YouTube's a great place to go.
Yeah.
And it's really just because if you have, it depends on where you're at. I think if you have the basic knowledge of brewing, right, you can kind of be like, okay, how do I get to a high gravity beer? You know what I mean? What can I do at home to do that and get to this point? How long will I have to ferment it? What's a good place to let a lager condition in my house? Stuff like that. Small things but if you have that basic knowledge, then those things to kind of look up and watch videos on. Whereas, if you're kind of just trying to jump into it, that series that I'm reading now was awesome. But even just watching homebrewers, really, that's how I started watching. I mean, I haven't really homebrewed much, but before I even was at Bentwater, I would just watch people talk about,
That's cool.
Yeah,
what
that's
they
cool.
like.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how you get into it and get
Yeah.
a little bit of a knowledge and just strike up conversations with people too, because you learn a whole lot. So
Yeah, we heard about
Yeah.
that today too. Just being able to talk to brewers and anyone who could at different breweries, just to
Yeah,
learn as much
totally.
as you
Yeah,
can.
yeah,
absolutely.
right. Totally. And I even at Bentwater, just talking to people. That's how I got in the lab, just talking to the guys
Yeah.
back there and just kind of, making friends with them and stuff like that. So it's
Yeah.
awesome.
That's really good advice for sure.
Thank you. Yeah.
I want to know, what are you drinking at home? What's in your beer fridge?
What am I drinking at home? I've been a big fan of the Allagash 25th anniversary bottled
Ooh.
beer. I got one of those when I went up when we didn't have the restrictions to go up there this summer.
Yeah.
And then I ended up going back a month later and buying 5 more of them because there was some left because it was delicious. I'm a big Allagash fan. I have some North Sky
So
in
good.
my fridge. Yep. Mass Landing, Gunner's
Yep.
Daughter
Yep,
is
of
also a
course.
favorite of mine.
Yeah.
Some classic exhibits. Focal Point is our Dunkel beer.
Yep.
It's a great beer. Bentwater Sluice Juice is also a good
Yeah, that's good.
one. And stuff like that. So I've been enjoying it. And I'm a big porter and stout fan, especially this time of year.
Oh,
So
for sure.
The Gunner's Daughter, stuff like that. It's I'm a big fan of that.
Yeah.
Definitely second that.
Yeah.
So, what do you want to learn more about?
I definitely want to learn more about quality work and yeast and yeast pitching, yeast counts, stuff like that. Yeast harvesting, kind of just your own yeast program, stuff like that, and kind of the microbiology behind beer and that kind of nature. That's really everything in the brewery interests me, but that's really what interests me the most.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's where I'm at. So
Nice.
Cool.
Nice. And then we'd like to end every episode with, what are you most proud of?
I'm just proud to be where I am now. So, I
Yeah.
was saying, I didn't expect to be where I am this quick, and I'm excited to be there. So,
Definitely.
So
That's
that's kind of
awesome.
where I'm at. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing your story here
Yeah.
today.
Yeah,
No,
thank you for
so
having
much.
me.
No problem. This has been a lot of fun.
appreciate it.
And
If you are a woman and you work in the beer industry in any facets, please line up for Pink Boots
Yes.
because we'd love to have
Agreed.
you. And until next time,
cheers. Well, if you've made it this far, you know we have some huge news for you this week. Right, Ryan?
Sure.
Yeah, Ryan has a huge announcement. So tell him, Ryan.
I like beer.
Oh, we did it. We finally got the announcement out of Ryan that he likes beer. Well, I just wanted all our listeners to know that Ryan liked beer, and we want you to follow us on Patreon, all social medias, and we really appreciate everyone that's listening. So until next week, cheers.